Some episodes may contain graphic content or sensitive topics, while all episodes will consistently feature offensive language and absurd speculations from two opinionated women on a spiritual journey just trying to figure shit out. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Hexhaven. My name is Heather, and I'm here with my co-host Sharon.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us today. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. We're in season 2.
I know. I can't believe we're here.
I know. It was
a year in.
A lot of work.
Actually, I mean, really, we're more like 2 years in, I think. If we go
back to go back to when we started recording.
Yeah, or even like not even just recording, but when we started planning.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah,
so,
you're right.
Yeah.
So 2 years. Oh
yeah.
My goodness.
At least a year and a half.
Yeah, for sure. So I have what I think is an interesting topic. I hope our listeners think so too. I'm going to talk about the Morris Pratt Institute.
Okay.
Back in September, Sharon went to Whitewater.
Yep.
And you went and did a spirit tour.
Yeah.
And when she came back with like a pamphlet about the Morris Pratt Institute, which honestly, until you brought that pamphlet back, I didn't know.
Right.
Did you know about it?
No.
I had no idea.
Nope.
So I wanted to kind of talk about the Morris Pratt Institute and the NSAC, which is the National Spiritualist Association of Churches.
Okay, so, sounds interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. A lot of it's really kind of informative in the beginning, but let's get started.
All right.
So the programs that Morris Pratt Institute offers are Spiritualist Mediumship Course, a Spiritualist Healer's Course, or if you want to do both the Mediumship Course and the Healer's Course, you do the Complete Course.
Okay.
Which is called the Educational Course of Modern Spiritualism.
Okay.
So you can do it as a whole, or you can do it in 2 separate pieces.
Is it like semesters? Or just 2 different degree I suppose it's just 2 different like degree programs.
Yes.
Okay.
It's 2 different like
areas
of study. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then they also offer the Pastoral Skills Residence course.
Right, okay.
The courses that you would take for the Educational Course of Modern Spiritualism, they're all online. You're not going to go into a classroom and sit.
That's nice.
And so you can do it at your own
leisure,
right? So the correspondent course of study on modern spiritualism consists of 30 lessons divided into 6 units. Each unit consists of a different number of lessons. The mediumship portion consists of 22 lessons. The healer's portion of the course consists of 15 lessons. Each lesson consists of study material, which is the lesson, a bibliography, required and recommended reading, and a set of questions for the student to answer. Written questions and answers are reviewed and graded by an assigned qualified examiner. I will talk about the requirements of the certification in the NSAC section later. The Pastoral Skills Residence course requires the full course of study on modern spiritualism. So you have to do the mediumship course part of it and the healer's course part of it.
To do the pastor? Okay, I mean, that does make sense.
Yep. And it requires an additional 96 hours of actual classwork.
Okay.
The classwork consists of like lectures, guest speakers, and then all the required books are provided for the course. And they do some hands-on pastoral experiences through role-playing, like life situations like premarital guidance.
Okay.
Chemical dependency, death or dying. So they do like little scenarios, and this is offered through various locations and dates throughout the year. So you have to look at the NSAC site to get that further instruction.
Okay.
They also offer some continuing education courses. When Sharon gave me this pamphlet, I was like, holy crap, I'm going to do this. Because mediumship really, really interests me. So I was like, well, maybe I'll look at the mediumship part of it. But I think, like, based on their pricing, you just do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because the mediumship part of it's like $625. The healer part of it's $450 for all the courses.
Okay.
But
And is that including materials?
No, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Because you know me, I'm going to ask the questions. And I wanted to know, like, how much of an investment
For
this
sure.
is, right?
Makes sense.
So, but if you look at that, if you actually just did the full course, it's $850. So you would save yourself like $200, almost $300. If you pay in full, it's a different price, like versus if you went onto a payment plan. It would be probably more beneficial for someone just to take the full course. Right. It just makes more like sense when you're thinking
more
like
financial sense and educational sense, really.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And it also said that you have 5 years to complete it. So, and that's that's a pretty good lead time. To have someone finish a course, right? So, as someone who's graduated from college, I'm very familiar with the cost of textbooks.
Yep.
I had concerns about potential additional expenses beyond the course fees, and I wanted to make sure I was financially able to obtain the required material without placing like any unnecessary burden on myself.
For sure.
So I reached out to Morris Pratt because I saw that there was required and recommended. Right? And I asked if all the required reading was available online or if I needed to purchase it separately in addition to the study material provided online. And if the required reading needed to be purchased, if it was possible for a prospective student to receive the book list in advance to evaluate the cost of the materials, right? And they responded with a detailed required reading list for each lesson.
Okay.
It provided the price for each book.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And where it could be purchased along with a note about whether it was used in another lesson or not.
Oh, wow.
So if there was a book in like lesson 4, they would note like, same book used in lesson 14.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. So it was really organized very well. The majority of the books could only be purchased through the NSAC bookstore.
Okay.
And based on the provided pricing, the cost of the books would have been $1,250. An additional.
Which is not bad.
Plus the $850, so it's about $2,000 to go through this, right?
Okay.
And you could accumulate the book. You don't have to buy them all at once.
Right.
You can buy them as you're doing the lessons,
okay.
you know. And if you have 5 years to do it, you can gradually get the books, right?
Right.
There was over 100 books on the list, so that's not bad when you think about the average was $12.50 a book.
Yeah.
Right? I did look on how to obtain the book. And from my understanding, this is not like a huge bookstore, a huge operation. It's not Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
It's probably some volunteers that work in there. I did call there a couple times because I wanted to get some books on the Fox sisters. Mm-hmm. And they were only NSAC books, so they aren't sold on Amazon or you can't get them anywhere.
Yeah.
You can only get them from them.
Okay.
So I really wanted to get their books because I felt like theirs would be the most accurate.
For sure. I think you did send me the book list, right?
I did send it to you.
Okay, I haven't looked at it, but I definitely want to.
So
I know they got some treasures up in there.
Oh, yes. So I have called there a couple times and no one answers the phone.
Okay.
They have very limited hours. So that's why I think it's
low profile.
Yes, volunteer based. But it also says you can email them a list. But I wanted to call because what's the shipping? It's not like Amazon.
Right.
Where if you're paying for Prime, you're getting it for free. Is it based on the weight?
Right.
Am I going to buy $30 of books and pay $50 in shipping?
Right.
That's also something that being a frugal person and mindful of. But I've never sent the email because I kind of have paused this journey for myself.
Yeah, okay.
For anyone interested, I saw on the Morris Pratt website that there is scholarships available.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. There are 2 scholarships available, the Crystal Foundation Scholarship and the DeMarco Scholarship. Both require applicants to be an NSAC member to apply. So they're not available to the general public. You have to be a member.
NSAC?
Yes. Which is a
church,
Natural
correct?
Spiritualist Association of churches.
Yes, okay.
Yes. Which is another thing where I was like, ugh.
See, and that's where it gets into the organized
Yeah.
religion portion of it. And, like, I mean, it's like a very cool course and opportunity, but
It is.
it cheapens it to me when you say that church, like, membership is required.
Oh, wait.
Oh, God.
I am someone that is a continued learner.
Yeah, for sure.
And we've talked about this several times. If I won the lottery, I'd be like, oh, I'd be taking classes somewhere. I'm always wanting to learn. So to me, I was like super excited about this. So the DeMarco Scholarship also requires a letter of recommendation from the church board president, pastor, or secretary from the church for which you are a member.
So
you have to be a member.
How
you have
easy
to be...
is that to get, you know?
Oh, no, it's not easy.
Of course it's not easy.
Which I think I talk about later, but you have to be a member for the church 2 years before you apply.
Oh, wow.
What'll happen is you'll take this course, which I'll talk about, like, all the things you need to do to get the actual, like, certification. But in order to get that certification, you need to be a member of the church for 2 years before you can even apply for the certification. So if you were someone serious and maybe you were thinking you were going to finish it in 3 years, I would probably say you're into the program, make sure you're joining a church.
Right.
But that would require you going there because you have to be an active member.
Right.
Which I am so sorry, but that is not what I want to do on Sunday mornings.
No.
No. So that part of it really made me, like, lose my interest.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of a church in general loses my interest. I've always found going to church on a specific day like a form of vanity worship, I guess.
Sure.
Like, I don't believe that any kind of God believes that that is the way that you worship them.
Right.
I believe just living your life, like living a purposeful life, and like, I think you'd have a better chance just being outside.
Yeah. I guess I didn't really realize how much spiritualists actually did believe in God.
Oh, yeah. A lot of them do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I knew they did, but I didn't realize that this...
The interconnectedness.
Yeah. It wasn't until I started, like, looking at Morris Pratt more. So
I kind of wonder if Wicca is the same. Because Wicca is an organized religion. It's what turned me off from exploring that path. And I know for a fact it's something that's not for me.
Right.
I do want to look into it more, maybe talk to somebody who's in that faith to, like, get an idea of what it's like.
Sure, yeah.
But I know it's not for me because church is a part of it. It's just different. Like, there are membership stuff. There's certifications. It's the whole organized religion. The idea just doesn't appeal to me.
I know it does not to me
know?
either. No.
So I think I'll always be, like, a solitary spiritual person.
I agree. Yeah.
You know, which doesn't mean, like, we do this and, like, we have parties and we have like-minded people that we hang out with and stuff. But, like, I don't think I'll ever, like, go to church regularly or, like, pray to a specific God regularly, you know.
Well, I'm thinking of this, and I know we talked about this, but I had a girlfriend who became, like, in our friendship, had become very super religious, and it ultimately ruined our friendship. She's not friends with me anymore because she wanted me to go to church with her, like, said to me, if you don't go to church with me, I can't be your friend anymore. And I was like, well, I'm sorry, then I guess we can't be friends anymore because I would never make you make this choice. And then she tried to say to me, like, it's because I want you to have God in your life so God can save you and you can go to heaven because I want you to be in heaven with me. And I'm like, okay, like, I appreciate that you love me and want me to be in heaven with you, but I don't believe the things you do.
Right.
You know, and
I don't believe that this is what's required of me in order to get into heaven.
Right.
Like,
heaven in quotations.
Right.
Right.
You know.
I mean, I haven't talked to her since.
Right.
Like, that was her requirement for us to continue being friends. And I'm like, oh, you're not.
Yeah. Keep that in mind for our next discussion.
Oh.
Because I did the spiritual awakening.
now we're going to talk about the history of Morris Pratt.
Okay.
And all historical information regarding Morris Pratt was sourced from www.morrispratt.org with original references and sources noted on their site. So that way, so anybody knows.
Yeah.
This is where I got the information from. They cite all their sources on their site.
They talked a little bit about the history when I did the Whitewater tour, so I'm curious what you got coming at me.
So, Morris Pratt was born on December 13th, 1820. He was one of 10 children born to Clarissa Morris and Joseph H. Pratt.
Oh! So he has both of his parents' names. That's not very common.
Not
for that
common
time.
at all. Mm-hmm.
How progressive.
Yes, and it says one of 10 children. And I tried to look to see, like, was he the firstborn, why they did that? Or was he the lastborn?
Right.
To try to carry on the mom's name. But yeah, he took his mother's last name as his first name. And then his father's last name as his last name.
That's cool.
It's cool, but being someone that's looked at genealogy a lot,
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
You've always had your own name and then, sure, had both their last names, but never...
Yeah. I recently saw something because of the SAVE Act going through, and so I don't know this for sure, so I'm not claiming this, but apparently... It disproportionately affects women because women have changed their last names when they got married. And now you have to bring additional proof to prove why you changed your name, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that happened, and then, like, you know, there's been a couple people pushing for the 19th Amendment, women's right to vote, to be repealed. So there was a bunch of people in one of these groups talking about, like, that's it. Nobody's taking their husband's last names anymore. Like,
no.
Fuck men.
Right? Well, I recently saw something like women that marry later in life don't usually take their husband's name. Only because, especially if you're established in your career or your children you have grown children that have the same last name as you, they tend to just be like, no, I don't need it.
Yeah.
You know?
There's actually, I think it's an author. Her husband changed his last name to hers because she's a famous author.
Right.
I want to say it's an author.
Yeah.
Might be an actor, but either way,
Yeah,
I was
I've
like,
heard of
that's
that
fucking
happening.
rare as shit. It's usually one of those macho things where it's like, no, you have to take my name because I'm the man.
I actually know someone a man, that when him and his wife got married, he took her name.
Oh, wow, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is the first time I ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Joseph is the father of Morris Pratt.
Okay.
After many of Joseph's siblings moved to the New York area, the Pratts joined them by 1830, staying near the family's village called Pratt's Hollow
Wow.
in Upper New York. Yeah.
Dang, that's some fancy ass shit. You got your own village?
You have your own hollow.
Hollow?
What an old school term,
That
too.
is,
like
that's
hollow.
cool. Can we bring that back?
Right?
I want to call my neighborhood a hollow.
So Morris and his siblings were raised with the local Oneida tribe and other New England families in the area. Later, some of his brothers would move farther west to seek their fortune. Morris Pratt, his parents, and the rest of his family joined other New Yorkers in moving to Whitewater, Wisconsin, and a mass exodus of settlers in 1838 to 1841.
Okay.
They were following many from the Oneida tribe who were forced to relocate to lands north of Milwaukee in Wisconsin. So yeah, pushing those Indians out, right? Gosh.
Yeah, that is kind of how they did it, is like slowly over time they pushed them further and further
you guys
and further.
need to go west now because we're here.
Yeah.
Or north, bunch of bullshit. Supported by their Methodist church to settle the area, the Pratt family, including brothers Asaph and Joseph, left with relatives and family friends, the Hulls, to move west. By 1850, the Pratt family was wealthy enough to build houses and buy large tracts of land in and around Whitewater, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
When the railroad line of the Milwaukee to Mississippi Railroad was completed through Whitewater in 1852, the Pratt's family wealth and name were established.
I was going to say, though, when we went to Whitewater, the train station was one of the stops that we made.
Oh, okay.
There is supposed to be a ghost that haunts that area. He was a worker for the Morris Pratt family, I want to say.
Really?
And
okay.
He was, like, cursed by the town witch, whose name was Mary. I can't remember why she supposedly cursed him, but that was, like, the local lore.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he ended up dying, and they said it was because of her.
Okay. So the Pratt family was specifically investing in land near Lima, Wisconsin, and moving to more rural areas for agricultural pursuits. Morris Pratt would reside in Lima, where he would court a fellow New Yorker, Miss Mary Jane Austen. Don't you just love that word?
Yeah.
Court. Oh, gosh. While working with his siblings on business adventures in agriculture. So that's how we met her.
Okay.
Morris Pratt before the Civil War. It says on November 21st, 1850, Morris marries Mary Jane Austen, daughter of John and Rebecca Austen of Lima, but originally of Albany County, New York. The Austins moved to Lima, Wisconsin in 1846 with Morris's brother Aesop's help. Pratt established investing in land and farming in Lima. At the same time, the couple returned to Albany, New York for a couple of months to visit family, and there they learned about the Spiritualist movement in Hydesville. Albany became the second stop for the Fox sisters and Amy and Isaac Post, staying at Delavan Hotel in 1850 to conduct several demonstrations, seances, and lectures. Have you ever heard of... I know we've talked about the Fox sisters in our Ouija episode.
Yeah.
Which, spoiler alert, we're going to have a bigger episode about them later on in this season.
Which is going to be awesome.
So, have you ever heard of Amy or Isaac Post?
I want to say it sounds familiar, but I'm thinking like what is registering in my mind is the Post family for some reason. I don't know if it's a Salem witch trial thing that I'm correlating.
Sure.
But it's striking something up here. So what do you got for me?
So I had to look them up. I didn't know, and it didn't really clarify on their website. So Isaac Post was a radical Hicksite Quaker based in Rochester, New York, and a prominent figure in the 19th century movement, abolition and women's rights.
Yeah, so abolition is slavery. It's funny that, like, you brought the Quakers up again, because I started watching Outlander, and so Claire, I think originally she was from the 40s, but she goes back and goes to college, and, like, she's the first woman, and she meets the first black guy in her class. And so she, like, grew up seeing racism and how it affected him. So when she goes back to the 1700s, she's accused of being a Quaker because when they go to the colonies, she is, like, strongly against slavery.
Right.
And, like, everybody who's white there is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Are you some kind of Quaker? You know?
Right. And if you remember our Aleister Crowley episode, his parents were Quakers. His dad was, like, a minister or something to the Quaker religion. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, an early convert to spiritualism, he, together with his wife, Amy Post, played a key role in linking emerging religious movement with the broader reform causes of the era.
Okay.
Within 3 years since the rapping in Hydesville, if you'll remember from the Ouija episode,
with the Fox
sisters reported hearing rapping noises in their house, and which started this whole spiritualism revolution.
Yeah.
Albany County was hosting thousands of mediums and seances to demonstrate the spiritualist philosophy, including Andrew Jackson Davis. I did not know who this was either.
Wait, isn't that the president?
No... Andrew Jackson.
Yes.
Not Andrew Jackson Davis.
Okay, there's a whole extra name in there, dumbass.
Right? That's okay, girl. I can't pronounce half the shit on this in my notes here. But Andrew Jackson Davis was an American spiritualist and author known as the Poughkeepsie Seer. Poughkeepsie is a part of New York.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. He was a key forerunner in modern spiritualism. So with the Second Great Awakening occurring at this time, spiritualists had to publicly claimed that they were not competing or offering a new religion, but only aligning with existing religious ideologies like Christianity and Judaism.
Right. It was probably dangerous not to.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. They offered dominant Christian religions a way to take their faith to a higher plane. By 1854, over 15,000 New York residents were petitioning Congress to fund scientific studies of spiritual phenomenon. The newspapers called the Fox sister events Rapomania.
Rapomania. Wow.
Yeah. Pratt and his wife, Mary Jane, then returned to Wisconsin and started to attend demonstrations at a farm of renowned medium Cora Scott in Jefferson County. Do you know anything about Cora Scott? Have you ever heard that name? Me either, which I think this could be another episode just about her.
Yeah.
Because what I noticed when I found out who she was is a lot of time, if you were just to like general search spiritualism, her picture comes up all the time.
Oh, wow.
And you just almost think like it's a generic or stock photo of someone, but it's this woman. And I'm like, holy cow, I see her picture.
And she was in Wisconsin? They met her in Wisconsin?
In Jefferson County.
Okay.
She was amongst the most prominent mediums associated with the spiritual movement in the later half of the 19th century. She was especially renowned as a trance lecturer, delivering speeches she claimed were guided by spirits. In addition to her public lectures, she authored several books that were said to have been dictated by spirit guides rather than written from her own conscious mind. Isn't that wild?
So, it's so crazy that you fucking mentioned that, because I have been thinking a lot about that lately. Like, if you're Christian and you go to church, your pastor is your spiritual guide.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people who are, like, spiritual outside of mainstream religion, they find internal guides. Like, you know how you seek advice from ancestors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I kind of actually really dig that idea, because the issue with mainstream religion is that it can be used as a tool to manipulate you.
Right.
And so that is always my issue. And every time any church I've been to, any spiritual person I've ever met, I don't fully agree 100% with what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know, I take what they say with a grain of salt and I weigh it against what frameworks I've already built up in my mind.
Right.
So I'm like, I mean, the idea of like spiritual guides, like I was like, that's kind of fucking cool, because then it also reinstates the trust in yourself.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, crazy.
So I came across this quite a bit when it came to her, because this wasn't on the Morris Pratt Institute, the more about Cora. I just kind of wanted to
Side quest.
For
sure.
But everything I found had this fact about her that I was like, it's a fun fact, but why do we always do this to women? Like, why does this fact need to matter? But over the course of her life, she was married 4 times and adopted each husband's surname. So she has been known as Hatch, Daniels, Tappan, and Richmond.
Okay.
And I just think it's funny that it's like every source that I go to is like, we'll get a load of this. And she was married. How shocking. She was married 4 times. Yes, it is shocking because, you know, society tells us we're only supposed to do this once. But,
yeah.
You know, I just think it's funny that's...
It is funny.
You know.
They do shit like that. It's crazy to look back, especially like 1800s time, and see how they like refer to women. And
well, when you think if a man was married 4 times, they would be like, the man of great fertility was married 4 times.
I think it wouldn't
would be
even
totally worded differently.
I don't think it'd even be mentioned.
Yeah. No, I feel like it would be, because it would be like almost something to brag about. He had grand fortune that he married 6 different times.
And he fathered children with all of them. He is a picture of
a man.
Yeah.
You know, he fathered children between, you know, like they would. And it's like, really? Are you kidding me? Gross. Soon the farm became a village that hosted spiritualists from around the nation. Scott and her teacher, Mary Folsom Hayes Chenoweth.
That's a name.
Yeah. Would call their place the Lake Mills Spiritual Center. The center became Morris Pratt.
Yep.
Well, the center became Morris Pratt's new place of spiritual direction in 1851. So, Mary Jane's mother would transition in 1855 and be buried in Oak Creek Cemetery. I just want to say it's funny that they say transitioned instead of saying she passed away.
Yeah.
Or died.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And I think it's because Morris Pratt is so tied to the National Spiritualist.
Right.
So maybe they use that verbiage instead of saying someone died or passed away.
It's definitely a term tied to like soul travel, the idea of soul travel, which most spiritualists, especially Christian spiritualists, they understand that your soul going to heaven or hell is soul transcendence or transition. Like, that is, it's soul travel. It's the same idea, you know?
Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting
So that
way
might
to say
be why, because
Yeah.
they're saying, like, your soul transitioned from your body to the next plane.
Right. Some say her death fueled Mary Jane's interest in the spiritual movement. Introduced by Pratt's older brother, Nathaniel Talmadge, the politician and lawyer who was a U.S. New York senator in the 1830s and governor of Wisconsin in 1844, and an ardent follower of the New York Spiritualist. You know what ardent means?
Ardent? I think it's like
A-R-D-E-N-T.
I want to say it's like a staunch supporter.
Yes,
you know,
devoted. You're absolutely devoted. I just want to make, because I haven't come across that word very many times.
Yeah.
So I had to look that up. He was a personal financer and friend of the Fox sisters and Amy Post, becoming an influencing factor in the Pratt's spiritual life. One well-known Wisconsin medium, Cora Scott, will move back to New York at the age of 14 in 1853 to work with the Scott sisters and Davis with the financial support of the Pratt family in Wisconsin.
So Morris Pratt himself,
Morris and his wife, Mary Jane,
paid for this 14-year-old girl to move back to New York to work with the Fox sisters?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I thought, she's 14.
Yeah. So
Isn't that wild?
I mean, it is interesting. From what I know about Morris Pratt, he was somebody that people trusted to go with when they've had strange phenomena.
Yeah.
Or, like, if they could speak to spirits. Like,
yeah.
So it's possible that she was his first student, kind of.
Yeah, I know everything that I read about him, and I can't remember.
It is, to me, it's always strange when
more.
we're talking about a grown man, like, who isn't the child's father, like, you know, like, financing their life, but maybe it is something like that.
But this is back in the 1800s, where he was a wealthy man, and he was like, oh, I'll pay for you to go back to New York.
Right.
Work with these sisters and validate information for me so I know we're on the right path.
And it's possible even that, like, maybe her family was, like, went to him and was like, my daughter is seriously gifted, but we can't afford.
Which is why I think a little more research should be done on her.
For sure.
Yeah.
Her name was
Cora Scott.
Cora
but she had the big, long name. Cora Lodiancia Veronica Scott.
Yep, I'll be looking up Cora Scott. I'm not going to remember all those names. That second name, though, is like, I don't know if that's how you really pronounce it, but it's pretty.
It's pretty, and I think, like, maybe it'd be, like, something Italian.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that fits.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So then the Morris Pratt website goes on to talk about Morris Pratt between the years of 1865 and 1889.
Okay.
Morris Pratt was introduced to seances, spirit knocking, automatic writings, healings, and even channeling as early as 1850s. By 1860, Pratt was housing gathering circles and lectures with some of the most renowned spiritualists of the times. Lectures are just like lectures.
Okay.
Wisconsin held many gifted mediums who moved within the Pratt group. Mediums such as Cora Scott Richmond, Mary Folsom Hayes Chanowitz, Victoria Woodhull, and even Andrew Javis were said to have visited this area. With the panic of the 1873 economic crisis and the backlash against his affiliation with the spiritual movement, Morris Pratt became concerned financially. Pratt sought answers from the trance medium Mary Folsom Hayes Chenoweth in the 1880s. By 1883, Chenoweth advised Pratt to invest in a iron range. Faithfully believing in the spirit's guidance from Mary, Morris invested a portion of his wealth in this iron range. With the onset of industrialization and factories, plus the global wars needing iron ore, Pratt instantly became wealthy. Mm-hmm. He was able to
Lucky
use...
Lucky duck, man.
Right? Oh, right. Remember, like, the gold rush
mm-hmm.
or the railroad? Like, people were investing in these things that became hugely successful. I guess if you could translate it to, like, stock, but...
But the issue is that the system is no longer made for things like that, for mm-hmm. people to get rich like that. It's made so that all of the money that is in the economy is floating around at the top, mm-hmm. while the rest of us squabble.
Richer. Yeah, for sure. So he was able to use some of his profits to support his spiritualist endeavors. He began working with leaders in the spiritual community to establish an institute to teach mediumship in healing. Morris Pratt will use his money to train and teach spiritualists in Whitewater at his home. In 1888, Morris would design and build his Temple of Science on the corner of Center and 3rd Streets in Whitewater. He had added 2 apartments on the first floor of the temple. Morris and Mary Jane would live in one apartment, while the other apartment would host guest lecturers, mediums, and teachers from around the world. The other 2 floors housed 2 lecture halls, 12 dormitories, and offices. A seance room was rumored to be on the 3rd floor, painted in all white, and only the faithful spiritualist was allowed to enter. Mm-hmm.
Secret society.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pratt did not inform the city of the use of this temple, and the newspapers speculated for months what the building would be used for. In April of 1889, the first advertisement of the new temple's dedication and grand opening was published in the Whitewater Register, calling the building M. Pratt's Sanitarium and Hall of Psychic Science.
I love that he, kept the public guessing.
Yeah. Yeah. He's screw you, I'm going to build this massive building and not tell you anything about it.
It's a secret.
Yeah. It's none of your business.
Right.
Right. Miss A.H. Luther, an Indiana spiritualist, was to help with the dedication and gave a sermon that ridiculed other religions in favor of spiritualism.
Oh, shit.
Luther's fiery sermon set the Whitewater community in outrage, and the local newspaper debated Pratt's religion, which caused low acceptance to his new center.
God, I'm honestly just surprised that they didn't meet him with pitchforks in that time.
I'm sure they did and maybe withheld that information.
Yeah, that's very true.
Multiple religious leaders would preach against spiritualism and force Pratt to debate religious issues, which he seldom lost. Soon, religious leaders left Pratt alone, and the events at the center were kept private, even from advertising in the local newspapers. In 1894, in the Portrait and Biographical Record of Walworth in Jefferson County in Wisconsin, an author noted in the report that Mr. and Mr. Pratt are spiritualists in religious belief and are kind, charitable, and benevolent people devoted to the best interests of humanity. The honesty of purpose and strict integrity of Mr. Pratt is above question, and a well-spent life has won him the confidence and respect of all his sanitarium and science hall.
So, I feel like every guide that we interacted with on that spirit tour, held Morris Pratt in very high regard.
Right.
And, like, we went and seen his grave site and everything, too, and they did a little skit of the lady was supposed to be his wife. So then that's when we learned that he did give a lot to the community.
Right.
And, like, they revered him for, even though people talk shit, because it is the spiritualist movement.
Sure.
It gets a bad rap.
Because it's something different than what everybody's used to.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was important to include it because here it is in a bibliographical record of Walworth and Jefferson County.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, like how reputable of a human being he is.
Mm-hmm.
So not until well-known mediums ventured to Whitewater, such as W.R. Colby of Indiana, would demonstrations at the center advertise to allow public attendance of these events.
Mm-hmm.
He built a temple for the Spiritualist and focused on those who were genuinely interested in the study of spiritualism. For the Spiritualists, the regular Sunday service, seances, classes, and lectures drew hundreds into the Whitewater Temple. With the dorms and places to stay, Pratt's Education Center became a mecca of spiritualist groups in the Midwest. Despite the economic revenue provided by these traveling spiritualists, the locals of Whitewater were weary of the center and often ridiculed it, like calling it Spook's Temple or Pratt's Folly, which is just another thing that, you know, they're not unsure of, so fucking might as well be scared to death of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about Morris Pratt and the NSAC.
Okay.
In 1901, at an NSA convention, Morris Pratt spoke to the National Spiritualist Association and offered to donate his center or temple to the association to train future spiritualists.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. The lecture hall could seat over 400 people, and it housed a dormitory for students. The newly formed NSA, lacking the funds and management, turned down the opportunity to run the center.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. To preserve his school, he incorporated the school as the Morris Pratt Institution Association. Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean,
So
I wonder why.
It was the NSA at first, and then it became the NSAC. Just something that was starting. They didn't have enough money to take this over, and, you know, and he was a wealthy man that could, so at that time they had to be like, well, we don't have the funds to do this.
That makes it better. I was thinking, like, pride, or, like,
no,
we don't want to have anything to do with that.
No, I think it was probably really, truly lacking of funds.
Okay, like, which makes sense. And I'll bet you that's why they put the C on there and went to churches, because taxes, you can take collection.
Yeah, absolutely. So Morris Pratt later in life, in 1902, Morris Pratt deeded his center, the Morris Pratt Institution Association, to be continued as a spiritual school and to offer formal education classes as well. Soon the school was recognized as the Morris Pratt Institute by trustees and other local educators. In December of 1902, Morris Pratt would transition at the age of 81. There's that term again, transition. His schools would still operate in the original building as a spiritual center and a public school until the 1930s. So a good almost 30 years after he passed away, it still operated as a spiritual school. Morris Pratt's legacy. In 1903, spiritualist minister and medium Moses Hull would continue Morris Pratt's dream of creating a training school for the teachings of spiritualism. With help from his family, Hull would create a successful curriculum and write many books for the school to use to educate spiritualists and train mediums. By 1906, the NSA created a division for education known as the Bureau of Education. English-born Reverend Thomas Grimshaw would replace Hull as headmaster of the Institute. I love the term headmaster. I knew you'd enjoy that too. It just God, makes you think of Harry Potter.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. By 1925, he would also be the vice president of the board of the National Spiritualist Association. In keeping with the wishes of Morris Pratt, Grimshaw partnered with the NSA and successfully prepared courses for for the NSA to use for ordination and certification. He authorized the NSAC Spiritualist Manual and Declaration of Principles. After Grimshaw's death, Victor Barnes would continue to run the school until the move to Milwaukee, and Barnes would complete the course. So he took the whole course of the Religion on Modern Spiritualism. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So he took it himself. He wasn't just like
love that.
a headmaster. Yeah, I mean, like, it makes sense for you to be in charge of something to...
Like, it gives...
Be educated in it.
Yeah, it adds depth to you as a leader, you know, for sure.
You know, and when I was looking at the book list, I think a lot of the books aren't like hardcover books, like textbooks like we would think. A lot of them are kind of like pamphlets.
Right.
So they're very short because if you looked at them even further, because you could also look them up further on the NSAC site.
Okay.
But some of them are like 17 pages or 20 pages.
Okay.
So they got to be just like little pamphlets, you know? I mean, I imagine some of these are some of these guys' writings that are in there, right?
For sure.
By World War II, the Institute was closed doors in Whitewater and rebuilt in Milwaukee in 1946. The Whitewater building would be sold to the State Teachers College as a dormitory until 1961 when it was demolished. In 1977, the Institute was renovated and rededicated under the National Spiritual Association of Churches as one of the educational schools in its educational bureau. Today, the Institute is still under the NSAC and continues to support the studies of spiritualism and mediumship as Morris Pratt had intended.
Right.
Interesting.
I am glad that his dream, like, or his vision, like, continues to, like, impact the world and so many people, but are you about to, like, flip it up and make it, like, something bad?
No.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk bad about Morris Pratt. Nope. Okay. No. Because, I didn't find anything bad about him.
Right. Like, no, I was hoping that, like, it didn't become some kind of vanity project after it. No. You know.
I'm going to talk about the NSAC, which is super duper church.
Right.
So that's the only bad part I can see is how steeped with religion that is. How I just didn't realize. I think I always had a differentiation between spiritualism and churches.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Morris Pratt and what they consider to be religion. Okay. Religion is a mental and spiritual laws of nature, which are the laws of God. Mm-hmm. Spiritualism is a religion because it strives to understand and comply with physical, mental, and spiritual laws of nature, which are the laws of God. Spiritualism is a natural religion because it raises the consciousness of humankind, creating and encouraging each person's growth. It places the responsibility of our actions on us, which I think is really interesting wording. Mm-hmm. And later, we'll go into that a little bit further because the NSAC has these foundational facts, and one of them is about heaven and hell.
Okay.
And it's about taking what they consider heaven and hell, because it's you taking account for your actions. Right. So it's your own heaven and hell.
Right. Which, when they are saying God and heaven and hell, they are speaking only to Christians, then that, I have some feelings about that, but, like, mm-hmm. I do believe that, like, especially spiritual people instead of, like, religious people understand that it's more of, like, the perception thing. Mm-hmm. Like, because even, like, think about, I don't believe in heaven and hell, but I do believe that what I do in this life is going to impact where I go next.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I agree.
And how fulfilling my next life is. Right. Like, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But if they're trying to push, like, the Christian side of it still, because I wonder, is that just something that was built into it? Because back when the spiritualist movement started, they had to comply to Christianity. I mean,
oh, sure.
You said they had to, like, come out and say.
They had to say, like, no, we're Christians. We love God. Because they would be probably hung if they said anything else.
So I'd be curious if that's something that was always kind of associated with the Morris Pratt Institute, or if that was something that's been added more recently when it became the NSAC.
Could be. I don't know.
Interesting.
So, in other words, spiritualism supports a life that is aligned with natural law, the orderly, progressive, and evolutionary process bestowed by infinite intelligence, which is evident in every aspect of nature and life, including the seen and unseen. Spiritualism is a religion of happiness and peace within. Mm-hmm. Now we will talk about the philosophy of Morris Pratt.
Okay.
As a philosophy, spiritualism studies the laws of nature both on the seen and unseen sides of life. It is based on facts observed at the present time. Conclusions are drawn from reason along with consideration of facts observed through the ages. More broadly defined, philosophy is recognized as a knowledge capable of explaining all things through their ultimate causes. His knowledge then becomes part of the larger scope of philosophical thought that includes cause and effect, powers and law, and systems and theories. The science behind it. Spiritualism is considered a science because it investigates, analyzes, and classifies facts and manifestations demonstrated from the spirit side of life.
Which I totally agree with.
Yeah. Spiritualism studies the entire universe, seen and unseen, which made me think of the ether.
Yep.
Current science has limited itself to the physical universe and its phenomenon. Science's main purpose is threefold. 1, pursuing knowledge for its own sake. 2, expanding our awareness and increasing our ability to observe natural laws. And 3, providing the basis of technological growth. So now I'm going to read you the principles of the Morris Pratt Institute.
Okay.
The Declaration of Principles is adopted by the National Spiritual Association of Churches. So they are the exact same principles they have.
Okay.
1, we believe in infinite intelligence, which means we believe in God.
Oh, okay.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
Right? The second principle is we believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expression of infinite intelligence. What this means simplified is we believe that God is expressed through nature.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Which is kind of what I also believe.
Right.
You know? Like,
this is a tough one.
Well, and that's why I think they're saying infinite nature, because the words God, divine force, unseen force, like, shit, last week we even brought up aliens.
Right.
You know, like, are they all kind of just different ways of saying the same thing?
Right.
So, yeah, I fully believe, like we just said before, like, I think that it serves whatever God or gods or power is out there to be out in nature versus in a church giving you my money.
I think, I completely agree with you, and I think for me, it's because the word God is so, like, taboo to me.
Yeah, so I think that I have, through this podcast, been able to move past my personal wound with the word God.
Right.
And I have been able to, when I'm having conversations with my more Christian friends, been able to relate it in a way of, like, that's how they see it. Yeah, they see it as an overlord in the sky.
Right.
That doesn't have to be the way that I envision it.
Right.
But it's the same thing at the end of the day. So it's allowed me to remove my personal wound with Christianity from the equation.
Right. Yeah.
And it also depends on how shit is worded and how it is enforced within a church.
Right.
You know?
So the third principle is we affirm that a correct understanding of such expression and living in accordance therewith constitute true religion. Simplified, this means true religion is living in obedience to nature's law. Number 4, we affirm that the existence and personal identity of the individual continue after the change called death. Simplified,
the transition. Oh.
We never die.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Number 5, we affirm that communication with the so-called dead is a fact scientifically proven by the phenomenon of spiritualism. Simplified, this means spiritualism proves that we can talk with people in the spirit world.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6, we believe that the highest morality is contained in the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Simplified, be good, be kind, and others will do likewise.
Yeah.
But remember that Aleister Crowley had like that crazy...
Do what thou wilt.
Yeah.
Shall be the whole of the law.
Yeah, girl. Holy shit, you remember that?
I sure do.
Yeah. Holy cow. But
because... So that, like, stemmed... I want to say it's Wicca, where the credo is, like, do what thou wilt... Or no, maybe it is this exact phrase that I'm thinking of, where it's like, do unto others as you would have done unto yourself.
Right.
Like... So it was like Aleister Crowley just put that whole second part to the side and was just like, fuck it, live your life however the fuck you want.
Right.
Woo!
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
That's really how I imagine that dude, like, writing his framework.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Fuck yeah, dude.
We can do whatever we want. We can have sex with
whoever
fucking
we want,
hallucinations if we want
with
to.
Red
like,
boys.
yeah.
Let's just fucking trip on some acid.
And if you get gonorrhea, you just take those... I mean, they didn't have pills back then,
opium.
so I don't know.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, smoke some opium about it.
Rub a leaf on it. You'll be fine.
Right.
Well, and I think, like, very much so, this reminds me of something that I tried to live by is what I put out in the universe is what I want back.
The karmic,
and I've always,
the karma rule,
Yep, the karma aspect of it. Mm-hmm. Sure. So number 7 is we affirm the moral responsibility of individuals and that we make our own happiness or unhappiness as we obey or disobey nature's physical and spiritual laws. Simplified, this means we bring unhappiness to ourselves by the errors we make, and we will be happy if we obey the laws of life.
Okay.
Number 8, we affirm that the doorway to reformation is never closed against any soul here or hereafter. Simplified, every day is a new beginning.
Right, so like, you know, one mistake doesn't damn you kind of thing, which is different than Christianity, because Christianity is you're already damned.
Right. Mm-hmm.
This is your penance.
Right. Yep. And number 9 is we affirm that the precepts of prophecy and healing are divine attributes proven through mediumship. Simplified, prophecy and healing are expressions of God. Mm-hmm. So those are the Declaration of Principles that the Morris Pratt Institute shares with the NSAC.
Okay.
I thought that was interesting.
That definitely is.
Mm-hmm. Man, let me tell you a little something about this NSAC. So I tried to dig into the history, and it was difficult.
Yeah.
So the National Spiritualist Association of Churches is headquartered in Lilydale.
Okay.
A community long associated with the American Spiritualist movement. Despite its historical significance, detailed information about the NSAC's institutional history is not easily accessible through official websites or widely available sources.
Do they kind of... I mean, I'm getting secret society type vibes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Much of what I learned about the NSAC came from broader research on related subjects. So, like, I was looking into the Fox sisters, Lilydale itself, Hydesville, all of which are deeply intertwined with the development of modern spiritualism.
Yeah.
But for additional content, I listened to an episode of a podcast called Unsung History, and it was titled Lilydale. It aired in November of 2024, and the host, Kelly Pollack, interviewed Dr. Avril Earls. She's the associate professor of history at St. Olaf College, and this episode provides valuable historical insight into Lilydale.
Okay.
And the broader spiritual movement.
Okay.
So I looked everywhere for history information, and the basic, like, oh, it was started in here, but there wasn't, like, that Morris Pratt was pretty detailed. Like,
yeah.
So then I found this podcast. This Dr. Earls wrote a book, and I ended up buying the book.
Okay.
So I purchased the book, Spiritualism's Place. It is co-written by Dr. Earls and 3 other historians.
Okay.
And I'm currently reading it in preparation for a future episode that I will cover on Lilydale and the Fox sisters.
Okay.
They are hosts of another podcast called Dig, a History.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were granted access to Lilydale archives, and each focuses on particular locations within the community to highlight different aspects of the past. So there was 4 of them all together.
That's what the book is about?
The book is about this historian and 3 of her colleagues were allowed to go into Lilydale and look at their private archives, which are not open to the public.
Okay.
And they then wrote a book, The Spiritualism's Place, based on the history and the information that they were able to get out of these archives.
Wow.
Which, after I heard this podcast and then I got the book, I went back to the reading list. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised that this book is not listed on anywhere in their reading list. Not even the recommended. Like, there's required and recommended.
Well, I would imagine that they probably don't want all of... I think of the Vatican and the secrets that they're hiding in there.
Yeah, but this Morris Pratt Institute is tied into this. You'd think you'd want them... If this is a realistic account of the history, you think that they would have it as a credible source as recommended reading.
You would think, yeah.
So I found that interesting that it wasn't in there. Mm-hmm. So they were granted access to the Lilydale archives, and each one of the historians focused on a different aspect of the past. Rather than debunking spiritualism, the book examines how grief, hope, faith, and community shaped Lilydale's history and its roles in the development of spiritualism in the United States, while also challenging myths and covering lesser-known stories. Mm-hmm. Here is what I was actually able to find about the NSAC.
Okay.
It's one of the oldest and largest national spiritual church organizations in the United States. It was originally established as the NSA, which is what Morris Pratt originally approached to ask to take over his... Yep. And then at the time when many American spiritualists were hesitant to form formal institutions or denominations, the NSA's early leaders believed that organization would strengthen and legitimize the movement. They aimed to promote the principles of spiritualism more effectively, both spiritually and practically. And a unified structure would help distinguish sincere mediumship from the growing number of fraudulent practitioners, improve communication within the spiritual community, and protect mediums from legal challenges under fortune-telling and medical licensing laws.
Wow.
I didn't realize you had to have there was fortune-telling laws back then. Crazy.
I am not surprised. And I'm sure it's because they wanted a cut of the profits.
Right. Oh, sure.
You know? They wanted it regulated so that they could have a piece of it.
Mm-hmm. Additionally, the association sought to offer material support to mediums and healers similar to the way other than religious traditions. That is what I have for the history.
Wow.
That is all I could find.
Wow.
I looked at links to news articles. So I'm hoping this book that I got is really going to give something a little more solid, something a little more dates, but I mean, so we know when it was started. That was it.
Wow, yeah.
And we don't really know about its journey. I mean, we have to assume it was in Lilydale, and it's always only ever been in Lilydale. It's the primary place.
Yeah.
I just have a few more things, and then we can finish up here.
Okay.
Sorry, listeners, it's a little bit of a lengthy one. But there is foundational facts from the NSAC, evolution of the God idea.
Okay.
So, following and living in adherence to natural laws were probably not understood fully by humanity at an early period. The results of living in accordance with these laws can manifest in what we now label clairvoyance, clairaudience, or physical mediumship. They were carried between souls of a spirit plane and souls of earth. As these demonstrations were not fully understood, they caused fears and superstitions in the minds of primitive people, and from these feelings arose the God idea. Mm-hmm. Which I don't know if we've really talked about this. I think we have. How God was created because people originally couldn't explain science.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
it's always been a way to put a face to the unexplainable.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it was turned into a tool of manipulation.
Which, I'm going to hand
time.
this. Right. Absolutely. I'm going to hand this over to you just because I think you might like to read it. It talks a little bit about the spirit plane and some other things that I think you just would find interesting.
Thank
so
you.
I'll give that to you. So the last thing I want to talk about is the NSAC certification.
Okay.
So this circles back to the Morris Pratt Institute.
Because you need this certification
to be accredited healer
or medium. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The first requirement is the applicant needs to be a church member for sure, right? So in order to be a medium or spiritualist, you have to do 2 years membership in an NSAC church before application. You have to have the successful completion of the NSA required educational course for mediumship or healer. You have to have 6 or more acceptable spiritualist healing affidavits from different individual.
So that's like a testimonial?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
A sworn document.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. You have to pay their application fees. After you're accepted, then you have to take an NSAC examination for your certificate.
There's a test.
Yep.
There's always a test.
Yep. Part 1 is about general information, an essay, and part 2 is written. Yeah, I thought that was, you got, not in addition to the coursework, then that's like anything with, like, if you're being a lawyer, you take all the classes and then you take the bar exam.
Yeah.
Even an accountant, you take all the classes and then you take your exam,
Yeah, when I was a CNA, you take all the courses and then you have to do the test before you get, like, officially certified.
Right. So, yeah, that's what I have. I hope that you enjoyed learning about the Morris Pratt Institute.
Man.
I promise I'm not a college recruiter from them. I just thought it was interesting that you could just take the courses to learn and gain knowledge, but you're never going to get a certification unless you join the church.
Right, yeah.
So, and I just thought, to me, that left a bad taste in my mouth.
Right.
I was like, it's probably not for me.
I completely agree. And I was thinking, too, like, if we were ever in Lilydale, like, I wouldn't be opposed to, like, going to a church service and seeing what
I wouldn't be either, but
like, to make me have to do a membership.
Yeah.
And, like,
commit to it every Sunday.
Yeah.
Hell no. My summers are too precious
I'm
for me to be committing to be somewhere every Sunday.
Yeah.
Or,
Sundays are the days to fucking chill in the yard.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Sundays are the days we dance naked in our yard.
Come on now.
Come on now. So I'm genuinely excited to dive into the story of Lily Dale and the Fox sisters.
For sure.
Which is ultimately what I'm going on to research.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So from what I've read so far, there's definitely a juicy bit of scandal surrounding the Fox sisters. And
I was wondering.
I can't wait to explore it with
I'm
you.
so excited.
Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome. That was a lot of information, and it was great information. I definitely want to look at that book list, though. I know there's some stuff on there.
Yeah, I sent it to you. I definitely can send it to you again. I encourage anyone out there, if you want to see their book list, just send them an email. It did take them, a few days, maybe even a week to get back to me, but they got back to me.
Right.
And it's a very detailed book list. There's a lot of stuff on there. There's a lot of topics on there that I still want to cover for our podcast. So I'm kind of making a list to see what books I would want, so then I can invest in them. But
awesome.
Great.
Well, and I think that this was a real good precursor to what we'll be talking about next week.
Okay.
So for the listeners, a little sneaky peek, we'll be talking about what even is a spiritual awakening.
All right.
So we're going into some of the same themes.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. How I don't even know what your next subject is until now.
Right.
So I love that we're doing the same thing.
We're mind melting.
Yeah. Holy shit. Do you know what I'm thinking right now?
11D7. Awesome.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you. If you have any questions or comments, you certainly can email us at hexhavenpodcast@gmail.com and follow us on YouTube, Patreon. Catch us on the socials. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Yep. So we're all over. Spotify. You can stream us on Spotify, Amazon Prime. I think you can even find us on Audible. So. Awesome. Oh my gosh. We're everywhere. There's no excuses. Yeah. What are you guys doing? Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe too, because that's a big one. Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. Bye. Bye. Original theme music for Hexhaven has been written, recorded, and produced by Matt Shook.